views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Good morning. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip. And CJ's mic is a little too low here. He's whispering, and I know that's not CJ.
No, I'm here.
There we go.
When I put my earpiece in, it moved the speaker level down. So.
Well, we had a city council meeting last night, so.
What a joke.
Well, that's one of the great things about having a Wednesday show, because it's the day after a city council meeting, and there's never a lack of things to discuss after a city council meeting. And I don't know what we want to talk about first. There are so many things, but I'd like to begin by saying it's amazing that it's like Yogi Berra said, it's deja vu all over again. We're hearing about bonding and studies. It's just, I don't know. Has anybody figured out that the reason that this city got into the mess it's in is because all we ever do is bond, and we did a million studies, and all those studies resulted in us having a bookkeeping system that nobody knows where the hell the money is. So I don't know. We're going to study the Bank Street Armory. We're going to have a study commission to study. I mean, you know, if you want to fix the Bank Street Armory, which, by the way, is used mostly for CDA, and that's federal, so my thing is, why doesn't the CDA go to the feds and get the money? I don't want to pay for that study, because if it was me, I'd say, hey, I'm going to call a bunch of contractors down and get some estimates. They give free estimates. It's not going to cost $300,000 for a contractor to tell me if it's feasible to fix that place up. So I don't know. Maybe it's just, you know, government in action. They love to spend other people's money, and those other people are us. So with that, I'll throw it over to CJ for his opening.
Well, I just think it's interesting, Chip, because it was an absolute amazing meeting. It so sickened me that I had to leave. You know, I watched it further at home on the live feed, and $36,000 for new furniture. Where are they getting this from? Does Fall River even know that the state has its own furniture company at greatly reduced prices? I know. I've been inside it. I used to work where they built the furniture. The prison system, Correctional Industries, that's what it's called. It is a Massachusetts corporation. Builds furniture. The furniture you sit in most universities and colleges in the Commonwealth are made by Correctional Industries. That same furniture is sold to private sector as well as government sector. It generates revenue for the state. But we're going to go outside and we're going to get it from somewhere else for $36,000. What are we getting? Another gold toilet? Only this is going to be the cashmere couch? I mean, you have to really ask this. And we're going to bond $300,000 for the preservation of a building that is used by CD Recreation on a regular basis. That's where they're based out of. Everything happens out of that building. Okay? They obviously don't pay us rent. The employees in there are ex officio city employees. They're on the pension system. We just found that out. And under what special act of legislation did they become city employees? That they can take part in the city pension system and city benefits and everything else. We have to ask this question. It's not like I want to deny anyone the right to get a pension or health care, but these are questions that need to be asked. And Chip, you and I have been talking all weekend, and I mean, it's been crazy, but I'm truly ready to break out the white flag, walk in to the city council chamber during citizens input time, wave the white flag and say, I surrender, because you nitwits are going to keep doing this every chance you get. You don't care what the people say. You don't care. And then you have people during citizens input time yesterday touting 4 counselors for stepping in and doing something. You know what? If I want a political speech, I'll listen to it on the radio. Okay? You cannot have this type of behavior going on and not expect people to be infuriated. I have friends that have left this city across the country. They live in Colorado, they live in Minneapolis, they live in Florida, they live in Texas, and they don't see this crap going on where they live. When you call the state, and I mean just before the show went on, 20 seconds before the show went on air, I received a phone call from the state. Their quote to me always is, well, that's Fall River. Okay, they don't care about the law. Their law is once it gets taken to court, and we spend $500,000 on fixing that. And the fact that the mayor was supposed to send people down to the city council during the finance committee meeting and talk about his his phase 1 report, his part 1 of his fiscal debacle, was a joke. Instead, they were pointing the finger saying, well, New Bedford's lying. They don't have no $25 million or $35 million. They barely got $8,000 in it. And then Joe Camara says, well, they invited us up to go find it for them. I mean, I don't care what other towns are doing. I don't care what New Bedford has, or Lowell has, or Lynn has, or Leominster, or Springfield. I care about what Fall River has. And according to the mayor's own report, he says we have $499,000. That's it. But I know we have $750,000 in debt, just recent debt. Let's go higher than that. We're talking about $750 million potential debt and unfunded mandates. But that's okay, because we don't have a problem financially.
Well, you know that I'm frankly disappointed. And the big news is there's a big rumor out there in the community that we are going to see the resurgence of a political candidate. There is some strong rumors out there that Will Flanagan is going to run in the next election for mayor. He's going to run based on the opinion rendered in the recall court action, which said he could run for his own office after he was recalled, so he's going to run for the office again. That may or may not be true, but I'll tell you what, if we re-elect him, I am throwing in the white flag for sure. But the fact is, what's disturbing me is it seems to be business as usual again. Nobody seems to grasp, what Fall River is and has become, and continues to descend into the pits. Years ago, mayors were petrified to raise taxes to spend money because they would be voted out of office. But what's happened is, over the years, people have gotten disgusted, moved out of the city, and the people who pay attention actually are now the minority. So people are allowed to stay in office regardless of how malfeasant, misfeasant, and non-feasant they are. And that's got to change. I mean, what the people that are left have to begin to get these people out of office. We can't live on these promises and BS that they throw. We heard transparency in government. We haven't seen anything. If anything, this is one of the most mysterious governments I've seen in a long time. Nobody. A mayor sighting is like sighting a comet. So, and we have these reports that are delayed and then put out in pieces. And look, the city's in a mess. How you can go down there and ask for $31,000 in furniture? Why don't you go down to the second-hand store on South Main Street and buy some furniture? Because that's what people in Fall River have to do. And one of the speakers last night was talking about the people in Fall River, and and he was right. The spirit was really right. Characterizing that they're stealing money. No, I don't think they're stealing it. They're misusing it. You're not stealing money when you do something with the money and people know what you do. They're misusing money. Is it malfeasant? Yes. Should they be using that money when we have a fire department that's gutted, when we have lack of services? No. Again, the same old, same old. $300,000 for a study of the armory. Like I said, what are you going to study? Do you want to rehab the building, or do you not want to rehab the building? So you get some contractors in and say, look, this is the building. You think it's salvageable? How much is it going to cost? They're looking for work. They give you free estimates. Open up the phone book. It says free estimates virtually everywhere because people want to work. Why is it that only cities and towns have to commission a study for everything? I'll tell you why. Because people make money on it. You think it's a mistake that former Mayor Ed Lambert got a job with UMass initially when he wasn't the mayor anymore? Go back and check the records and see how many studies he commissioned from UMass Dartmouth. And ironically, he got a job at UMass Dartmouth in that arm of UMass Dartmouth. It's just like congressmen who vote for the drug companies, and when they're booted out of Congress, they get million-dollar consulting positions with those pharmaceutical companies. That's the problem with government. They don't care about our money. They don't realize Fall River. I think he cited the average income's 21. But what's more important is the average household income has, at some sites they said 34. Some of them are putting it down to 31, which lost money. That's for a family of 4. 34,000. The state average is like 66 to 67.
And actually, Chip, most recent reports, they're not official from the federal government yet, but most recent reports are reporting the average family income in Fall River is now down to 29,000.
Well, and I don't doubt it, because the only people that are coming into Fall River are people who virtually don't have an income, because they keep saying, we want to attract businesses. We can't even attract people with money. How are you going to have a business? You drove around last night after the meeting, and virtually every restaurant in the city of Fall River was closed on Monday and Tuesday. It used to be Mondays for most Portuguese restaurants, and now restaurants are closed on Monday and Tuesday evening because they can't get customers.
Right.
And people don't have money, and these people make it like rocket science. Oh, let's reduce the taxes on business. Let's do this. Let's do that. Let's fix up the waterfront, and they'll come. Bullshit. They're not going to come. I mean, they're not going to come. People with, in order to sustain a business, you need customers. You need customers with discretionary cash. People in this city don't have discretionary cash. And that'll allow me to segue. There was a comment made about Lou Pacheco calling people free riders. And I'll tell you what, I take exception to that comment. The free riders are going to ride free regardless of what you charge in property taxes, what you charge in sewer fees, what you charge in excise taxes, because those people are free riders because they're on the state dole. I can tell you one thing, every taxpayer in this city who owns a piece of property is not a free rider. They have been paying their taxes. As long as they've owned their homes, they have been paying their fees, and they're not getting a free ride. And I don't want to hear the BS about our tax rate is lower than, now all of a sudden we're better than New Bedford, but New Bedford's got a higher tax rate. Now we're going to compare. Well, let's compare one thing. Newton's tax rate is lower than ours. Lower, not higher, and they have 14,000 businesses. You know why? Because the average household income in Newton is $113,000 a year, not 29. That's why they have 10,000 more businesses than we do. And they have people to move in, and they have people that buy houses there, and they have people that pay taxes there. And it's just like a car lot. High volume car lots can make less on a car. Sell it to you cheaper. Why? Because they sell more cars. And the fact is, this is not you. They try to make this like a big magic formula. Nobody can figure out what the problem is. Well, the problem is people don't have money in this city, and you continue to take money out from people who don't have money. And secondly, what are you going to do to fix the problem? And the answer is not what you've been doing and continue to do, which is spend more money. The B word, bond. That word should not be heard unless there's a crisis of epic magnitude in this city. We have bonded our way to a debt almost as large as the state debt. And it's got to stop. And I hate to say this, but I haven't seen much of a change in the way we're doing business. And I hope that when that second phase comes out, the answer isn't more taxes, more fees, and there's going to be no 2.5 override. I will be out on the street working 5 times harder than we did for the purple bags, and we will, anybody who even votes for a 2.5 override and votes for more fees is going to be in big trouble at the polls if I've got anything to say about it.
Well, Chip, you know, the thing is that we already know he says there's going to be more taxes. We already know he says there's going to be more fees. In part 1, he said very clearly that the enterprise funds are underfunded. The only way you can properly fund an enterprise fund is to increase fees. So we're giving water away to Tiverton. We're selling it to them. We're selling them sewer services. And then we're going to raise the fees to the property owners of Fall River in that same area because we have to, because there's no money there. Just like this, you know, the CSO fee, the rainwater tax was illegal, but it's still there. And we know it's a tax, but because they call it a fee, they can keep collecting it. You're looking at ambulance fees going up. People actually said to me, we have to pay for ambulances? Nothing's free, baby. Nothing's free. Yes, you got to pay for ambulances. Okay? And solid waste management, as we know, with pay as you throw, that bag already, and this is something nobody was told, already has a built-in fee increase up to 20-some-odd% based upon certain things that we have no control over, including the CPI plus 3%, plus up to 20%, or the higher rate of the resin fee. So, you know, you have to look at this and say, you're already saying you're raising taxes and fees. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate it. Well, you know, the mayor will turn around and say, well, I didn't do this. I inherited this. Yes, you inherited it. You ran for office knowing this was in existence. Okay? And even in receivership or an outside financial management firm, they're going to go for an increase in taxes, which, by the way, according to all the research I've done, has actually a detrimental effect on the communities that they're trying to bring out of receivership, because property owners leave. The buildings become vacant. They become derelict. They don't pay the taxes on them. They just become derelict, and the city ends up having to take them anyhow and then demolishing them or offering up for sale for rehab. And guess what? That costs the city more money. So the increase actually got sucked up by the people who jumped ship and said, the heck with it.
Well, many great economists have gone on record and said that that tax increases are detrimental to re-stimulating an economy, because they understand that it is money that fuels economic resurgence. It is money in the people's pocket, not in the few rich people's pockets, because they can only buy, you know, 1 or 2 cars. It's money in the hands of the general public across the board. Give everybody money to spend, and they will spend it, and we will make money. But what disturbs me, and he's going to say he inherited this, but there was also a comment that there's no fat in the city budget. That is the biggest crock, and I want to hear that said again. And at budget time, I will be there, and I will ask the same questions I've been asking for years. Explain to me that there's no fat in the budget, yet we lost 14 firefighters in 2014, and that's almost an entire fire company. But we created 2 new captain's jobs and a new lieutenant's job. How do you create supervisory positions when you lose people? That seems to be something that's the norm in Fall River. You're going to tell me that's not fat? The fact is, when you shut a piece down, you free up 3 lieutenants and a captain. They have to go somewhere. How do you get 2 captains and another lieutenant? How do you get 2 new supervisors in a DPW when we have an all-time low of personnel in a DPW? I mean, what, you're going to tell me there's no fat in this budget? As we've said time and time again, we are over supervised and underserviced. You're not going to tell me there's no fat in the budget. Let me look at every department, and I guarantee you I will show you unnecessary positions, redundant positions. But they won't look at the budget with a scalpel, because every one of those clowns that's sitting in a job like that got it because they're connected. Got it because somebody wanted to give them a job that wasn't already in the table of organization, that already didn't exist. So people don't get promotions and jobs created for them in city government or state government unless they know somebody. And that's the reality. So don't give me, at budget time, I don't want to hear that this administration has done everything possible to make the burden of taxation and fees as minimal as possible to the people of Fall River, because that is an absolute crock.
Well, Chip, we know this is a fact because, again, we had to create a position for a special assistant to the mayor. So, I mean, really, what does he do? I know that all he acts is a buffer to the mayor because the mayor is always persona non grata everywhere. Everywhere you try to get a hold of him, you can't find him. He's hidden in the shrubbery or something. But, it's interesting because you talked about economic development. And, it's very clear why businesses don't come to Fall River. How come they're willing to open a restaurant in Somerset or Westport, but not in Fall River? How come Sam's Club is currently looking at a serious consideration? Hey, Kenny, listen, you're going to need to hear this. Serious consideration to closing Sam's Club, okay? Because of, get ready, lack of sales. I'm going to quote a vice president of operations for the Walmart company in Fall River when I presented to him a couple of issues at the grand opening of both those stores. I said to him very clearly, your prices are higher here than they are at other stores. Can you explain that to me? Quoting him, this is Fall River. They're all on welfare and food stamps. They can afford it. Unquote. This is the business we attract to Fall River. The prices are higher in Walmart. They are higher at Sam's Club. Go to similar stores in Seekonk or in Dartmouth, and you will find that their prices are anywhere from 10 to 50% lower. Why? Because Fall River's on welfare. They can afford it. That's sad. That is truly sad.
And not only that, they're basically the only game in town. They're competing with maybe Kmart. And the fact is that, look, it's a simple matter in economics of supply and demand. When you go to Seekonk, those people have money. Here we go again with the money. Follow the money. Those people have money to spend. And money to spend creates the ability to purchase. And then you can sell your product. But it also creates competition. Other stores can open to compete against Walmart, which makes Walmart hold their prices down. The reason Walmarts drive all other businesses out in communities like Fall River is they come in, they offer lower prices or the perception of lower prices than these other companies, and then when all the competition's gone, they have a monopoly basically. There's no competition in Fall River. But if you go to Seekonk, I mean, look at some of these towns that are nowhere near the size of Fall River. Drive through Seekonk and see how many restaurants they are. Go up to Taunton. It's a third of the size of Fall River. Or maybe even less than a third, maybe a quarter of the size of Fall River. Drive down 140 and 44 and see how many restaurants there are. Why? Because people actually have money to buy things, to go to the store, to purchase things. There's stores everywhere. There's restaurants everywhere. There's, you can find, I know that there are more restaurants and stores in Taunton around Fall River. That's criminal. It's a quarter of the size or a third of the size of Fall River. Why? All these rocket scientists can't figure this out. They don't even know their own fundamental history. The reason that the Great Depression ended was not Franklin Delano Roosevelt. The reason it ended was the Second World War. During the Second World War, you couldn't buy a car, you couldn't buy a refrigerator, you couldn't buy any consumer goods because everything in the United States was turned into a war machine. Shipyards, airplane factories, sugar was rationed, gas was rationed, people worked full-time, we had full employment. Everybody was either in the military or working in a military industry. And guess what? They had no place to spend their money because they couldn't buy anything. They were working, and there were no consumer goods being produced. And when the war ended, everybody had money. And guess what? The Depression ended because the people had money to spend. And ever since then, every war since then has created a recession. The economy is gone. Why? Because every war after the Second World War, this nation continued to produce goods while the employment was high, which creates a very simple thing. More people with more money, people can charge more because it's supply and demand. You had a demand and you had people with money. Now, you had everybody with money, so you can raise the price because people are willing to pay. Simple. But these people make this a real complicated issue. It's about money, it's about supply, it's about demand, and the reason Fall River is where it is simple. Most of the people here don't have any money, and our city council acts like we live in Newton. And our mayor thinks that people are, and our mayor spokesman thinks there are free riders. The problem is the 37% of us that are left in this city that own property are taking it on the chin. And we're not riding free, believe me.
Well, but Chip, you know, the thing is that, you know, the city council and previous city councilors, previous administrations, the state, Kenny Fiola, they all contributed to this problem, okay? Under the Viveris administration, we went out and we started searching for people who are indigent. We wanted to fill the housing authority. We wanted to fill all the buildings we took over from the federal government that were all veterans housing. We took them all over. We wanted to fill Sunset Hill and Harbor Terrace and Watapa Heights. And we went out, we put big billboards in New Jersey and up and down 195, and we started importing them. And you know, we're still importing them today.
Yeah.
We are still importing them today.
And let's speak about the reason for that. The head of the housing authority at the time was Carlton Viveris' brother, and his contract had a clause in it that we get a bonus based on occupancy. And the more people he brought in, the bigger bonus he got. And while we're on that, I have to say something. I'm outraged. I have been told that David Sullivan, probably the most unqualified head, or one of the most unqualified heads of the housing authority, because there seems to be no qualifications for the housing authority except political connections, who just recently got his salary elevated to, I believe, $160,000 or something to that effect, but he just got a pay raise, has sent a letter to every occupant of the elderly high-rises to tell them they are now going to be charged a fee for picking up their trash. Elderly people in low-income housing being charged a fee in a federal unit. It is obscene to push the burden onto these people.
And that's
because... It is
because...
absolutely inexcusable. And Dave Sullivan, shame on you.
And that's because, number one, the Housing Authority already has a private contractor handling their trash removal. Per city ordinance, they have a private hauler. They then entered into a contract with the city of Fall River to take the recycling, which the city has to pay for, by the way, to get rid of recycling. And now we got the tenants have to pay for the city to take away the bulky items because we need to bolster the enterprise fund. We need to get more money from the people. And where is it coming from? Not a tax now, it's another fee. A fee on the people who can least afford it. That is not fair. That is hateful. And those letters went out Monday, and they were hand-delivered to every occupant. And when I received the first phone call, I was like, oh, okay, you know, this is somebody who's just going to call and complain. But I received it from everyone. I received it from more people. Unbelievable. I had people saying, let them come to this building. Let any one of them come to this building and have a political time, because we know we feed the seniors. Got to give them their chow mein sandwiches. Because I'm going to go there. I'm not going to take their food, and I'm going to stand up and ask them why. And when they say, well, I'll have to look into it, they're going to tell them right where to, and I'm going to quote the gentleman by clearing it a little bit, they can go F themselves because this is ridiculous. This is going beyond acceptable.
Yeah, well, let's pick on the weakest and the least and the people least able to afford it. It's criminal. Again, free riders unite. And let's give all these politicians a free ride right out of office.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow. We'll see you Friday.